am thrilled to be here with you today and to make my presentation on my topic, which is called the path. The path really means vision. So my goal is going to be to try to take you through why I think it is so important that each of you, that I, this country, the world, has a vision, has a path, because it's important to have a pathway that you follow in your life if you want to be successful. I have this little tool in my pocket. Can anybody tell me what this is? A pendulum. Good guess. Actually, it's called a kamal. A kamal is a 2,000-year-old device, navigational device, used by Arabian sailors to ply the waters of the world and find their way home. What they would do is they would take this, I won't put it in because you'd never be able to understand me then, but they put the string in their mouth, hold it up to the horizon, and wherever the North Star is on the night that they do this, they tie this knot. So when it's time to go home, they just put the kamal back in their mouth, line it up with the horizon, and if the North Star is too far one way or the other, they adjust it until they find the appropriate mark, and they sail until the North Star hits that knot. When they hit it, they go east or they go west, and they find their way home. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's nature speaking. Those are the stars guiding us. Nature is what guides each and every one of us on our path, having a vision. It is so important to have a vision. And so many people ask, why? I'm going to tell you right now. 2 quotes. The first one is by Helen Keller. She said, "Far worse than being blind is having sight but no vision." Let's say that again. Far worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. The second quote, "Where there is no vision, the people will perish." That's Proverbs 29:18. Now, why is that important to us? Take a look at the status of the world right now. The world, the United States, and for many people in their lives, disruption. Go back 280 years ago when America was founded, prior to when it was founded. There was a goal, almost a common goal by everyone, that they wanted to find freedom and independence from the English. And everybody was focused on it. Even though they may have had different political views, they were focused on it. They got together, and guess what? We became an independent nation. And through the last 200 and some odd years, we have overcome so many adversities and accomplished so many things because we had common visions: winning a war, overcoming a depression, a recession, flying to the moon. In the mid-1980s, we brought the wall down in West Germany. Communism was supposedly eliminated. We know that story. But the bottom line is, here's what I want you to think about. Since the 1980s, mid-1980s, have we really, as a nation, had a common goal? I don't think we have. And what's happened since the mid-1980s? We've had more disruption, more political upheaval, and separation of our people because of that. If you think back through history, when there is no vision, the people will perish, and you look at the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, the Mongolian Empire, and many others, you realize how important it is to have a common vision. Now, let's bring this into more of the modern age, recent years. For those of you that are familiar with the TED Talk given by Simon Sinek in 2013, he did a talk called Start With Why. And in his presentation, he had his 3 concentric circles. The inner circle was the most important. It said, why? My purpose in life is what counts. That's what's going to drive me. The next circle out was the how, the process to get there for your purpose. And the last was the what, and that's the results of the hard work that you do. That's pretty incredible stuff, guys. It's important. That's how life works. If you haven't read this book, you should. But interestingly enough, 80 years ago this year, the book on the right was published, Think and Grow Rich. How many of you have heard of that book? If you haven't read that one, it's another one you need to read. Think and Grow Rich was written by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill had been commissioned by Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, to go out and interview all of the famous and successful people in the world. And that didn't mean just money. It meant success in all walks of life. It took him 20 years, from 1917 to 2000, or till 1937. It culminated with this book and 17 chapters on how to be successful, how to live a successful life. And would you want to guess what the most important chapter of all was and principle? It's what Napoleon Hill called definite major purpose. Definite major purpose. Why? Vision. Really, nothing's changed. If we really want to know how to better things worldwide, nationally, ourselves, we need to try at least to get to having a personal vision. So let me take this to more of a personal state. Me personally. I won't bore you with my early life. I'll start graduating from college in 1972. I got out, the job market was terrible. So I did what everybody does when no jobs are available. You get into the insurance business. Exciting. I figured I'd be there a little bit of time, get out, and I would move on. Well, unfortunately, but fortunately, 40-some years later, earlier, it had become a passion. It has become a lifestyle and a way of life. Because I found that I was the guy that was walking over to people, handing them something to solve their problems, while everybody else had their hand out saying, "You owe me." I became passionate to the point it was almost missionary in zeal. You could ask my wife that. I lasted with the first company I was with, Prudential, for about 2.5 years, and then my Greek blood took over. For those of you that know Greeks, they can't work for other people typically. So I decided to go off and open my own insurance agency at the age of 25. I did that. 1978, I went to focus on health care and benefits. And unbelievably, at about the same time, I attended a seminar at the Chicago Amphitheater, which many of you young people may not even know what that was, but it's the holiday star of the old days. I went to that seminar with what they called a PMA Rally. It had the likes of, started off with Norman Vincent Peale, one of the original founders. Then you had W. Clement Stone, Robert Schuller, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, Dennis Whaley. I mean, it was an all-star group of people. I left that night realizing that I had my second passion. My second passion was to try to bring as many people as I could to the realization that they can accomplish anything. Now, I didn't want to do it by speaking to large thousands of people crowds. I wanted to do it one-on-one, getting involved in my community, doing things that I could help people realize they can do anything. It's capable within all of us. We all have the ability. We just need the path. Again, there we go again, the path. So what happened after that? I got involved and produced a number of motivational programs with Zig Ziglar, Robert Schuller, Joe Theismann. I did one with a guy by the name of Roy Benavides, who was a Congressional Medal of Honor winner, Gerald Coffey, who was a Vietnam POW. I even had Rudy, if you remember Rudy from the movie. Unbelievable, it was great. In addition to that, I have my radio program I've been doing for over 20 years called The Winner's Circle. And then, about 4 years ago, I had the opportunity to mimic what Napoleon Hill did. And I spent time in the community interviewing successful people. What I ended up finding out was that this was a heck of a place. We had a lot of people here, a lot of people that were special, just like the people Napoleon Hill had found. And what I found was really kind of strange. Every one of them had the same characteristics that the people that Hill had interviewed. That didn't mean just the people I interviewed on the radio program, the ones I did for the articles. Everybody had the same principles, and almost the number one driving force was having a definite major purpose, a why, a vision. And they took it and did something with it. So this is really great stuff, right? Everybody should be able to do this, and that's what I thought I was doing every time I had a radio show, every time I wrote an article. Every time I'd have a seminar, I'd go, boy, I'm making people feel great. They're going to go out and do something about it. Typically what happens is it's short-lived and they get this real buzz and then they forget about it. So I realized there's a problem. There are people who succeed and there are people who don't succeed, and they're for varying reasons. But the key was that we tend as a society to identify a variety of different groups for success. Let me give you the first one. For those of you that have young children or have had them, oh, they're in first or second grade and they go through this testing, and guess what? They identify them as being just a little brighter than the other kids. Imagine that in first grade. And then they move them up a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. And then in business, we reach out, we identify these successful people, and we put them into leadership training. And we make them better. Well, what about all the other people who just haven't maybe matured yet or whatever? We're missing the boat with a large number of people. We're not giving them the same opportunity that we give to those that we identify. So I recognized that, and I thought, you know what? We need to do something to change that. Now, the first thing I knew that we had to realize was what type of people we were dealing with that wanted to learn, wanted to improve themselves. And by the way, everybody wants to improve themselves, they just don't know how to do it. Not all people. So I identified three different types of people. I call them my 3 N's. The first one is the natural. He's the guy who gets up at the plate like whoever, Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, and he sees a 100-mile-an-hour fastball coming at him, but he can see the seams. He just gets it. There are people like you or like that in this room. The second group are what I call the nurtured. Those are the people like I am. I was blessed to have parents who pushed me and suggested I take risk and gave me the opportunities to learn and do more with my life. And that's great. There are those of you in this room that are nurtured. The last group is what I term the nomads. Those are the people who are looking. They're wandering. They have no path. They don't know how to find it. Even the nurtured may not find that path. So we're kind of missing the boat. We've got people who maybe want to learn and want to be there, but don't know how to get there. The warm and fuzzy is off after the seminar or whatever. So it became important to me to realize what would be the results if we had a group of people that were really excited about living their life the right way. In fact, let me ask you this question. How many of you in this room are employers? How many of you are parents? Okay. Ask yourself this question. If I could deliver to you as a parent or to you as an employer someone who had a definite major purpose in their life, someone who had a pleasing personality, a positive mental attitude, self-discipline, they knew how to overcome adversity and defeat, they knew how to go the extra mile, and they believed in teamwork, would you be pretty pleased as a parent if you had a child like that? Or if you were an employer, if you had a job candidate that had those characteristics? Oh, and by the way, those are 7 of the 17 principles of Napoleon Hill. I call those the real meat of getting to know yourself. The other ones I call kind of the finishing school. They help soften the hard parts. But the bottom line is, most likely, not anyone is going to get every one of these things right. But at least they need the opportunity to learn these. So how do we do that? Here's my proposal. I believe this is so important, especially to those of you in this room that are young parents. This is going to impact you big time. And those of us that are older, it's going to impact us too. This action. Number one, that we as a group get together, go to our educators and go to our legislators and tell them that we think it is absolutely mandatory that we have these life skills and leadership skills taught in the schools at the appropriate starting age. Why are we not teaching people this? I do not take one thing away from traditional education and what they teach. Science, math, English, that's important. Very important. But having the right life skills to overcome adversity, to have self-discipline, no matter what you do, you need those. So why are we not teaching that? So that's my first option. One, we go to those people and tell them, we want this. Number two, we pick a curriculum. It doesn't have to be the Napoleon Hill curriculum. It can be any curriculum. Because guess what, guys? If you really look at all of the books on how to build character, they all pretty much say the same thing. But I use that one for this reason. Napoleon Hill took 20 years, interviewed over 500 people. How can you not take that as having some validity to it as a way to teach people what success means? Third thing I do is pick a champion, some well-known person that can lead the charge and accelerate and excite the people. And the last thing I would do is I would take action immediately. Successful people make decisions quickly, they change them infrequently, and they're always planning on the future and where they're going next. They don't hesitate. That's what we can build with a system like this. So what do we get if we do that? Number one, we have fewer nomads, people wandering, looking for what they want to do. We're never going to make that a zero-sum number. But if we have any improvement on that, it's good for our country. It's good for the world. It's good for the individual. Number two, we make every learner a teacher and a nurturer. So it's just one of these multiplying effects. One person impacts 30 people. How much better can that be? Especially if it's good, positive stuff. Third, we'll all be better prepared. We'll all be ready to live life with, even if it's only one characteristic more, it puts us into the position where we're better than we were before. And lastly, maybe, just maybe, with that increased volume of people that we could create, we'll have someone who stands up and makes a comment that rallies the people in the country like John Kennedy did when he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country?" This is imperative. The Chinese say that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. I'm willing to take it. Will you join me? Thank you.